Hello and welcome to Nizhny Novgorod in Russia. It's around 500 kilometers east of Moscow for the World Cup final of the 2013 Modern Pentathlon Series. We've had events in Palm Springs in the USA, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Chengdu, China, Budapest, Hungary. Now we move on to Nizhny Novgorod. Well, this event sees the top 36 competitors from this World Cup Series taking part. Well, yesterday was the turn of the women, which was won by Victoria Tereshchuk. Now it's the turn of the men. Some lovely sights from around the city. Delighted to be joined by Heather Fell, former Olympic silver medalist from the Beijing Olympics.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here enjoying the sunshine, heading over from England. We haven't seen it for a while.
Well, we'll start, of course, with the fencing. 36 competitors taking part, 35 bouts, of course. The competitors have 1 minute to try and score the necessary hit to claim victory. If no hit is scored during that time, then neither competitor manages to score a point. Just looking at the start list, plenty of big names there. See James Cook, who won the last leg in Budapest. David Svoboda from the Czech Republic, the reigning Olympic champion. Frolov from Russia. And so let's start with the first competitor. Sergei Karyakin from Russia. So Heather, I know you've competed before in the fencing and modern pentathlon. How difficult is the fencing event?
I think that the hardest part is the fact it takes so long. You're having to concentrate, for up to a minute each time, but then it's really important to be able to switch off and relax in between bouts and pick yourself up again and to move on from the last hit. If you'd won it or you lost it, it needs to make no difference. You've got to approach your next fight with a completely clean slate and ready to, whoever it is behind that mask, you want to beat them.
Well, this man needs no introduction whatsoever. Alexander Lissun, one of the best athletes around at the moment, world #1 for a long time, was the Olympic, the favourite really for the Olympic Games in London. Unfortunately, he only managed a 4th place, but good record for him, 22 victories from 13. What makes Lissun such a good modern pentathlete?
I mean, he has a strong fence, and he's pretty much up there after the fence, and then everyone else has got to spend the rest of the day trying to catch him, which they often don't manage.
Swimming was perfect. Frolov is the first. I think we have a great combate at home in Russia, and I can't speak about the pronostic before riding, because riding are very selective this year.
Right, so move from the from the fencing to swimming pool soon, and just confirmation of the results. Ilya Frolov with very impressive 26 victories from his 35 bouts. Also up there, Valentin Parad, Dmitry Polyansky, and Alexander Lissun, always a threat in the modern pentathlon. Slightly disappointing result though for Adam Marashi, very good athlete from Hungary, could only manage 712 points, which put him way down 31st place after the fencing. Real surprise for him. So we now move to the swimming pool. And we'll pick up the action with the second heat, featuring Alexander Lissun and Denis Tchaikovskis. How does the swimming differ from event to event? Because the pool size, the conditions must make quite a difference.
It does, and it's strange. Swimmers talk about a slow pool, and the public probably think, what on earth are you on about? But it's amazing how some pools you do just get a good time, you feel good. It depends on the depth and the obviously short course. Some athletes will prefer, some will prefer long course, 50 metre, depending on how good you are at your turns and your starts, and that will have a big difference.
Well, Lissun pulling away in that heat, showing what a fine athlete he was. He would finish 7th overall, despite being in one of the slower heats. And certainly it's someone to look out for towards the end of coming into the riding and combined.
Yeah, he's definitely put himself up there. So.
And a personal best as well. What a time.
I know, and a personal best in a year like this. I mean, it's a quieter year after the Olympics. We're not expecting to see personal bests from any of the athletes, let alone an athlete as experienced as him.
Well, this is the action from Heat 4. Kirpulyansky, who had a very good fence. Frolov up there as well, who won the fencing, in fact. Ilya Frolov, I mean, how difficult do you think it has been for him? I mean, we touched on this just a couple of minutes ago.
I think the hardest part must have been missing out on the Olympics. It was such a close call for Russia. They are so strong, and I mean, it's similar for the British women in a way, having so many athletes at the top. And I mean, success breeds success, and I think that's why Russia are so strong, because they're all fighting for those places. And
yeah, because I mean, he was won the European Championships last year, second at the Worlds last year.
Yeah, I mean, you can only get a little bit higher than that. So incredibly frustrating, but he's obviously coming back strong and fighting, and showing that today. And
a good swim, 2 minutes, 1 second and 0.87. That was good enough for 14th place after the swimming. So putting Frolov in a very strong position going into the riding. So we'll pick up the action again with the final heats featuring the strongest swimmers. And someone you know very well, James Cook.
Yeah, he's obviously left himself a lot of work to do today after his disappointing fence, but I mean, Jamie's very good at whatever's happened previously. He still puts everything into the swim, because with Pentathlon you have to ride, you don't know what's going to come, and he does climb a long way up the field, which he'll be hoping to do today.
But some other big names who we should look to see in the standings, Sergei Karyakin and Adam Marushi. Well, Marushi's really, I mean, he got a medal obviously in London, I think he got a bronze, but he really has kicked on in this season.
Yeah, he's definitely, you know, had a consistent. I mean, I think that's, as an athlete, he's one of those who is consistent. And today he's had a bad fence, but on the whole, he's an all-round modern pentathlete, and that's why we see him up there so often.
But if we look just at the screen, I mean, it's something of a surprise. James Cook not actually winning the swimming. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen a swim, but El Gadesi of Egypt. I mean, what a strong swimmer he is.
And Jamie have a really competitive kind of, it's a really healthy competition, and I think actually Amro tipped Jamie in Palm Springs. So they've got a really good camaraderie, as you see, like they're good friends, and they really help each other get a good time.
According to your current position, is it possible to repeat your performance from Hungary?
No, I don't think so. I think in Hungary I was very lucky that the winner of the fence was only 920 or something. So no, it's a little bit annoying because you know, I was hoping to do well, but you know, that's fencing.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thanks.
So just the final results from the swimming and the fencing. So we can see Ilya Frolov up in first place. Quite interesting, in fact. The top four: Frolov, Prad, Kirpulyansky and Lisun. They were 1, 2, 3 and 4 after the fence, and have stayed the same after the swim. Oh, David Svoboda, the reigning Olympic champion, way down in 29th. Adam Marushi has had such a great World Cup season, back down in 25th. So plenty of work for those two to do, as we can pick up the action with the riding. Have a riding. I believe it's really the lottery of a modern pentathlon. It's really where the modern pentathlon is won and lost.
I mean, this is why saying that for the swim it's so important. However bad a fence someone might have had, they've still got to give it everything, because until the riding is finished, you don't know where you are, and it's amazing how much can change. I mean, the word lottery and sport we don't like to put together, obviously, being from this background, but it is the unknown, and we know who the good riders are and who the lesser riders are, but that still doesn't really help us in predicting the results.
But I mean, how much does experience play a part in riding? Because I mean, a lot of the younger modern pentathletes come into modern pentathlon for a swimming background mainly, or perhaps fencing occasionally. But it's very rare that you have a young modern pentathlete who's a very proficient rider, I think.
It is, because obviously the way the pentathlon develops, it starts with the shooting and the swimming, and then riding is the last event to be added on if you come up through the ranks. In that sense, I mean, there'll be some athletes, for example, the Americans, the British, the Canadians, who've come from Pony Club, quite a few of them. They will have more of a riding background, which on the whole you will see it will reflect in their rides. And if you looked at the results of the riding for the whole year, you would on the whole see the better riders having a better average.
Well, I can pick up the action with Pavel Ilyashenko from Kazakhstan, riding source Praznik, which means festival in Russian. Well, he got over that first fence fairly comfortably enough, which the first fence obviously can be one of the most difficult, often sets the tone for the riding events. Seems like a good ride so far.
Yeah, he's moving on, so time shouldn't be an issue at the moment. And this horse is fairly short striding, so he shouldn't get in too much trouble from having a bit of tempo in between the combinations. Actually, he did.
Yes.
So again, he was moving on, and now he's paying for that a little bit too fast, and he will quite likely get in trouble down this related distance line here.
Seems to be fairly upright of the saddle.
Yeah, he's...
Well...
I mean, he's trying to control the speed, I think. Whether he's digging his spurs in a little bit too tight or the horse is very forward going, it's hard to tell from here. And he's just flattening a little bit. Lucky not to take more down that to the treble, actually.
Just this final fence to go, and he's home, but
Well inside the time, I think.
Yeah, inside the time, but free knockdown, so 120 penalty points for him, so don't think we'll be seeing him anywhere near the top 10 going into the combined. Stride pattern sort of faltering there a bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was basically too fast and too flat, and that's the problem. You need to be inside the time, but obviously being 6 seconds inside the time shows that he is going too fast.
I'll pick up the action with Riccardo Di Luca from Italy. See, average fence, 19 victories, and average swim.
Yeah, he's been working on his swimming. We've seen him actually training over in Great Britain a little bit, and so maybe he's picked up a bit from our boys, I'm not sure.
Just about to start his ride. So how confident does he look in the saddle?
He looks relaxed, and I mean, the Italians have a very good riding instructor. Riding is part of their blood, so hopefully they've got good instruction out there. I mean, the important thing is he's not interfering with the horse at the moment. He's got nice light hands, and that's key to not taking those poles with you. If the horse can relax over the fence, then you're going to have a smooth round, which so far, so good.
So has he learned a lot from training with the GB squad? Because I know you've obviously had a lot of...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much, I don't think he's done that much riding with us, but he's definitely been over visiting quite regularly in the last year. And
stride pattern as well, I think.
yeah, I mean, it's a tight arena, so it's the corners which they need to ride well, and this next corner is quite important, coming into this related distance down the straight here in front of us. He rode a nice corner and he had a nice route down through there, because if you get it wrong at the beginning, you're going to struggle to then correct yourself, and the corners are times when you really have a chance to set the horse up for the fence ahead.
Just got a slightly wrong line in the first fence, but really recovered well.
Well, he got in quite close, but almost in a treble like that. Getting in close brings the horse back, and he's less likely to get long and knock the last fence. So it can work in their advantage.
Oh, that's the final fence, and a stunning round for Petroni, going clear just inside the time as well, I think. And, well, another Italian firmly in contention.
Yeah, and another nice round to watch, and they're both riding well, which is great to see for our sport. I mean, that was sort of proven that it's not about speed, having the control, but keeping the rhythm going so that they were bang on the time, and that's how it should be. The time is there that is the optimum, and it's an optimum for a reason.
Absolutely, because I mean, in the women's event yesterday, I mean, we were seeing women sort of finishing the course in 1 minute, 1 minute 2, 1 minute 3. I mean, is it really worth getting inside the time?
I mean, you are very likely to have poles down at that speed. And I mean, it's unusual for the women to be faster. The men are known for having the faster, slightly less tidy rounds. But so far, that's not proving correct.
Especially with the new rules about the knockdown being worth 40 points. I mean, it really does put the emphasis on the riders.
Yes.
To try and go clear, or to try and make as few mistakes as possible.
Yeah, I think it is good in the fact that it has maybe slowed down some of those who just thought, right, knockdown isn't worth that, it doesn't matter that much, we'll just get around and gallop around the course. So in that sense, it's definitely made a difference to maybe the way some of them approach the ride now.
Here's an athlete from Mexico, Alvaro Sandoval. You can see Mexico, I mean, Mexico have struggled quite a lot during this World Cup series. They've competed in quite a few events, but it's never really been sort of about the upper echelons of the standings overall.
Well, I mean, he's obviously working his way up through the field. If he keeps this nice, consistent ride so far, we could see him moving up considerably.
It's going very well so far. Bit of a stutter there into the fence, but covers well.
I mean, this horse is a very tidy. If you see, he really picks his front knees up. He's kind of one that doesn't want to touch those poles. Sometimes you just get those horses that really don't care, and whatever you do, they'll still take a pole. But he looks quite a careful little horse, and oh, that was just, I spoke too soon. But again,
he's letting the horse do the work, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tidy. It's kind of quite a relaxed round. Maybe he might have one or two time faults. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, he's going to pick up, I think.
Just a couple of seconds
3 or 4,
over,
yeah. But certainly a round he can be proud of, and again, a round keeping him in contention.
Yeah. I mean, that pole was unlucky, and he obviously needed to pick up a little bit more kind of momentum on the corners just to stop those time faults in the future.
But I mean, a tight arena like this, I mean, is it hard to adjust to the different...
I mean, in a way, the tight arena helps the riders to kind of negotiate the corners because they don't have a load of space to go into. So in some ways, the horses aren't going to go off very far because there isn't anywhere to go. So some of them might actually like that fact that they feel slightly more contained. It does mean that the corners are a little bit tighter and sharper to ride, so you've got to have a little bit more skill in that sense. But if you ride them well, it helps you set up for the straight lines that we have on this course.
So up next, Pavel Timoshenko, who won the men's events in Chengdu, continuing superb success really for Ukraine in this 2013 World Cup Series. Obviously the women winning 4 out of the 5 events, but Pavel Timoshenko getting victory for Ukraine. Good solid athletes who's really done well, I think. Perhaps fencing results 5th. Swim, perhaps not as good as he would have wanted, but not really renowned for his success in the pool. But certainly someone who can expect to be up there, but obviously a lot spending on this ride and not the greatest start.
No, it looks like he's had quite a strong warm-up. The horses come into the arena more sweated up than a lot of them, and maybe they weren't quite hitting it off because it's not going to his plan so far. And this could be putting him right out of the mix, I think.
I mean, psychologically, how hard is it? I mean, he's not even halfway through the course. He's already had 5 knockdowns. I
mean, now with the points change as well, he'll know that he's out of it. He will have heard those poles go down, and
Slime was all wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, this horse just looks like he's had enough. And I mean, he's not having terrible lines into any of the fences, but you can see that he's not just tickling them off. The horse is just going straight through quite a lot of these poles.
Just can't be bothered to jump.
Yeah. Which is just, there's not that much you can do here. I mean, the horse maybe is a bit tired, he's really sweaty, it's quite hot out there. Whether he was, not so fit after the first round, I don't know, but that is a ride that's taken him out of contention for certain.
Yeah, certainly one of the quicker times, but unfortunately far too many knockdowns to be in contention, 7 overall. So unfortunately, I think Pavel Timoshenko's championships are over. So we're approaching the top 10. Up next, Woo Jin Lee from Korea. And the Koreans really have done well. I mean, they, both in the men's and the women's, I mean, perhaps the women haven't had as much success as the men, but really an emerging nation, the Koreans.
It's definitely been the last couple of years that was suddenly kind of they seem to burst onto the scene, and I'm sure it wasn't a matter of bursting, that they've been working long and hard, just slightly off the radar, and once they've appeared, and I think it was last year that I certainly really noticed the Koreans, especially in the men.
Certainly, Jinhwa Jung to come, certainly. I mean, he's had a lot of success recently, and I mean, they've done really well on the World Cup circuits this season. Just the thing that's let them down is going into the combined. They've done, I think I remember it was Chengdu. They were both, I think they were 1-2 going into the combined, but it was just that combined event which let them down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, because a lot of people will be looking to move up through the combined, and I think they're more hoping to hold their position, so they'll be hoping to move up a lot in the riding.
one knockdown already, and struggling a bit to...
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to bring the horse back, but you don't want to... if you do quite a few of those checks on the corner, you'll suddenly find yourself losing time, but then it's better than having a pole down and rushing. So it's
to find balance.
Getting that balance, exactly. But it's paid off for him, the fact that it's, you know, he's been controlled on the corners so far.
Nice.
Just in far too close, you got the stride completely wrong on that. But luckily rectified for the second pass of the double. Not the straightest line going on there. And it'll be interesting if he can set up in time for this related distance down here.
Very.
But he's recovered well.
Yeah.
And, oh, I was going to say, that was incredibly lucky. He got far too fast down through there and paid for it by the end. And it's looking very unbalanced at the moment. Going around that corner, his body weight was not too central. And
again...
Not looking...
Not looking in control whatsoever, but he's managed somehow to get over that.
Yeah, I mean, once you're in, you pretty much come out again, and he luckily came out again without any poles the other side.
So, penultimate fence coming into the final fence. And unfortunately...
Oh, that looked a little bit painful as well.
Yes. He did well to stay on the horse.
He did, and he's still got both his stirrups, which is something, but not one of the prettiest rounds we've seen today.
So, 160 penalty points overall for Wu Jinli. Knocking him down to 22nd position provisionally, and pretty much well out of contention.
Yeah, as we were saying, that they needed a good ride to be in the mix, and the Koreans aren't known for moving up.
Especially with so many good athletes to come. We've got the likes of Lisun.
Yeah, some real combined specialists we've got to come, so...
Frolov, yeah.
Those guys, unfortunately, won't have a look in.
So, next up, Denis Cherkovskis. Good fence for him, 21 victories, 14 defeats for him. That was good enough for 5th place overall. Swimming, not his best discipline, was 25th overall after the swim, which was good enough for 11th place going into the ride.
I don't understand it, but I guess if you're used to riding him, then that's the norm.
Well, each to their own, and Dimitrov over the first couple of fences easily enough. He competed in 3 events this season, nothing really to write home about. 36th in Palm Springs, which was last place. 19th in Chengdu, didn't even qualify for Budapest. Never managed to get on the podium in a senior event, but might have a good chance today if he can keep this ride up, which looks to be good so far.
Yeah, he seems to have quite nice control. I mean, this horse looks quite forward going.
Stuttered into that fence, unfortunately.
Yeah, but he's quite a short striding horse, and he's picking up nicely over the fences. So, yeah, it's this combined line down here. When they get a little bit too fast, then by the last fence we see the pole going, and that's inevitable.
To this free jump section. So just 2 more fences to go.
It's a very clever horse, and I mean, he got him out of quite a few problems there. He got in quite close, and obviously this horse prefers jumping in quite close. I mean, the pole he had very little, he'd got too fast, and after each fence he was getting faster and faster and didn't have time to get them back. But all the individual fences, the horse sorted it out for him. He picked his feet up, even if he was in close.
So just 2 time penalties for Dimitrov to go along with his 2 knockdowns. And we can expect a big cheer now from the home crowd for Sergei Karyakin of Russia. Karyakin, 11th after fencing. Good swim though. 1 minute 58.35 was good enough for 5th place overall. Karyakin, certainly very talented, but as we're saying, now is his chance really to establish himself.
Yeah, I mean, obviously now that Moiseev has opened that gap slightly, so now there's more opportunities in the team. I mean, this being a non-Olympic year, obviously at World Cup final you can qualify 3 athletes, so the Russians filled all those 3 spots today.
Konyakin has had trouble during this World Cup series during the riding, and he's already had one knockdown.
I mean, that line, then he didn't ride the corner as well as some of the previous rounds we've seen. But maybe he's just trying to save on time.
We saw in the women's event yesterday, I mean, Russians rode very well in the main. Uryaskina and Gubaidulina. I mean, we saw also in Budapest last time out, the Hungarians really took advantage of home advantage. Geresi in the women's event and Marosi in the men's.
I mean, I know in Hungary it is the same horses competition in, competition out, and they do train on those horses. As for Russia, I'm not sure. Obviously, we're not in Moscow, so whether these will be horses that they're familiar with or not, I don't know. But we're not seeing that demonstrated particularly well at the moment.
No. Well, it's 5 knockdowns for Konyakin, and really the riding has been
I mean, now
there's trouble really over the parts of this World Cup series, yeah.
And you say this World Cup series, but this is the first season that we've seen such a high penalty for a knockdown, and obviously today we've not really had many stops. It has been about the poles, and maybe previously 28 points a knockdown didn't make as much a difference, but now you see 5 fences, you're 200 points, you're out of the competition.
Yeah, exactly. That's really something that Sergei has to work on a lot during the season and during the off-season, really, to prepare for 2014.
I mean, the Russians have been known for often being maybe some of the faster riders, and in the past, with speed, quite often you get poles knocked down, and they might have got away with it previously, and now with this sort of scoring change, it's catching up with them slightly, and they might need to work a little bit harder on the ride.
Sure. Right, moving on. Justinas Kinderis from Lithuania. He was 5th after the fencing. 18th in the swimming, which was good enough for 8th place overall. Lithuania, a country with a strong modern pentathlon tradition. Astodoskaitė, obviously the reigning Olympic champion in the women's events. And of course, Andreas Zadneprovskis in the men's, retired now, who's essentially Astodoskaitė's husband. But Kinderis is part of a new generation, really, of Lithuanian riders. That's a fantastic result for him in London, where he actually managed to finish 8th overall.
I mean, Joe has had, we're talking about people bursting onto the scene. I mean, Joe really has burst onto the scene this year. I still can't believe, you know, how I was out there in Palm Springs competing, and when he won that medal, I think we were all as shocked as Joe was, and he's proven that it hasn't been a one-off. And I mean, seeing him now coming into the arena this late on just proves that, you know, this isn't an amazing day for him, but he's still starting the ride in 7th place.
Absolutely. I mean, he's hasn't really been able to build perhaps as much as he would have wanted to on that success in Palm Springs. He was 17th in Rio, 20th in Chengdu, but still top 20. And for a young guy, I mean,
he's literally, you know, it's his first year on a senior circuit, and I think Palm Springs was just to sort of see. We were all impressed to have 3 boys making the final, and to see a boy on the podium, and then with Jamie on the podium again.
In Hungary,
yeah, in Hungary, it's looking like the British men could almost be overtaking the British women, which I'm not impressed about in some ways. Joe's ridden for many years, and so far he's demonstrating this
very
nicely.
confident.
Yeah.
Really in control of the horse, you can see
and very relaxed as well, which is very important, because a horse can sense if the rider is tense. Really controlled.
Yeah.
And that was a real proof that, you know, he didn't get too long, he didn't get too fast down that line. As long as he keeps moving, because it is a slightly slower round, but a couple of time faults are far better than a pole, so...
Again, this is turning into an excellent ride.
Yes, let's not speak too soon. We do have fence number 11 that's caused a few problems.
Gets over it, absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Oh,
and an excellent ride from Joseph Evans, well inside the time as well.
Wow, look at that. That was deceiving because he didn't look like he was rushing, but that just shows that when you're relaxed, you have a nice rhythm. He wasn't wasting time on the corners, having to fight with the horse. They just kept that lovely rhythm, and what a great result for Joe.
Yeah, and with the combine to come.
Yeah, this is quite exciting. I mean, we're now going to basically wait and see what happens for the next 6 riders in, as to we could well see Joe in the mix again.
Well, especially because El Ghaziri not known for his combined. Jinhua Jung's had a few problems this season. Well, it's soon obviously we'll expect to be up there. Prad and Frolov, all more than capable. But still, anything can happen on the riding.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting to see in the combined list, whether athletes have tapered for this or where it's fitting into their competition sort of training schedule, really.
Okay, so we can pick up the action with Amro El Ghaziri, who won the swimming events, handing James Cook a rare defeat. Not known for his combined though, so really must pick up maximum points or near to maximum points as he can on the riding.
It must be frustrating for him because he is such a good fencer and such a good swimmer, and the riding on the whole isn't a big problem for him, but with the combined being the last event, he must find it frustrating, knowing that he's going to drop those places, and it'll be interesting to see how high he can hang on to today.
We'll just clip
the big part from the shooting is it's a skill, but then I think for him it's a psychological factor that once you've struggled for a while, it's then hard to break out of that, and whether he's been working with a psychologist or if that's something that he can look at, that's definitely somewhere where there is scope to help with the shooting, because it's definitely the shoot where his problems lie.
Well, here's Jinhua Jung. He was 3rd at the World Championships last year in Italy. He's been very competitive on the World Cup scene this season. 10th in Budapest, 16th in Chengdu. Was 11th at the London Olympics last year. Again, a very solid all-round athlete.
Yeah, and it's those that you keep seeing popping up, up and up again, and you're not shining, but he's thereabouts. And again today, he is thereabouts.
And a good rider. I mean, he's averaging around 1,120 points on the riding. Has gone clear, certainly on a few occasions.
I'm impressed with the men's riding so far today. It seems to be not, causing too many problems this course. And even though it's a small arena, it is riding, and the fences, of decent height. They're not up to maximum, but they're bigger than we've seen at quite a few of the World Cups this year. So it's nice to see that pentathlon riding, is giving a good demonstration of some better skills.
It's turning into a really good round. Just a couple of last fences to go. That's fence number 11. And over that final fence, good ride.
Wow, very good. Comfortably inside the time as well.
And a clear round, so Jung once again will be very much in contention going into the combined, especially the Russian athletes, Lisun and Frolov. They've both had their problems on the riding during this World Cup series. Kibulyansky as well, he's also had problems. So Jung putting himself, and Joseph Evans as well, putting themselves into really strong positions going into that combined event. Be actually very interested to see Lisun. Hasn't been in the greatest form, I don't think, this season. He did win the opening event in Palm Springs, obviously putting the disappointments of London 2012 behind him, because he really would have been a massive favourite going into London.
Yeah, I mean, it was all about the Russians, wasn't it? They've been so strong and so consistent. I mean, that's so difficult in our sport. And to then finish so close yet so far, at the Olympics, it really is about the medals. I mean, this competition today, it's about the medals, but also it does go down further because it's a highly weighted competition for ranking points. So even those athletes that are just outside the medals, they're going to be shooting for those ever so important points for the end of the world rankings at the end of the year.
So it does say something. I mean, just listen to a round of applause for Alexander Lisun. I mean, if you served even Moiseev, really, I mean, coming into London, I mean, he was ranked world #1. I mean, to get above someone like Moiseev in the world rankings, I mean, it just tells you what a good athlete
and I mean,
this guy is.
It must just be, they have such competition to get in the team amongst each other. So it is a real, real evidence of success breeding success.
See how he's not the most confident, so just clips him at first rail.
This is not looking pretty, but the crowd are getting very excited about every fence he clears anyway. I mean, it's inevitable. He's holding onto the horse's mouth, so if you see that the horse can't relax over the fence, and he was lucky there not to take another one, really. He's having a bit of outside coaching here from round the corner. Didn't pay off, though.
No. But you'd think someone of experience of Lassoon really would, I mean, be much more comfortable.
We talk about riding experience, but learning to ride, if you've come up through the pentathlon ranks, like he has,
that's 4 knockdowns already.
This is expensive. If you've come up through the pentathlon ranks and learned riding a later life, it's never going to be natural. You can work at it, which he will have done, but it's not a sport that he is natural in. And when you have a horse that you've got to react to there and then without, you're in the arena, it's just you and the horse. And
it's just final events to go.
Yeah, I mean, that was the score. The score doesn't reflect the round in a way. I think it was actually, he didn't quite even deserve that many points because it wasn't particularly nice to watch, and the horse wasn't able to relax over the fences. He was fighting with it, and they just didn't really bond, I suppose you could say.
Well, unfortunately, I think Lassoon, well, we all know he's very good at a combine, but I think he's left himself in with too much to do going into this final event, dropping below James Cook, and Cook had a pretty dreadful fence. I mean, obviously good at the swimming, but yeah, disappointment for Alexander Lassoon. Been very hit and miss this season in the World Cup. Obviously, yes, as I said, winning in Palm Springs, with 27th in Rio de Janeiro and 7th in Chengdu.
We hardly ever see the Russians quite that far down the rankings, do we?
Well, Dmytro Kipulyansky, he'll be trying to make it another Ukrainian double, as they managed in Chengdu, with Pavel Timoshenko winning, along with Zhana Buryak in the women's event. And a more confident start for Kipulyansky, I'd say.
He's not hanging about, which could get him in trouble later on when we get to the related distances, but quite a quick striding and maybe short striding horse, so you might keep him out of trouble. If you see, he's got quite a little stride, so on the related distances, even if he is a little bit quick, he might well get away with it because the horse picks up quite nicely in front. It's quite a careful little thing.
Just,
oh, that wasn't needed. See, he just gave him a hit going into that, and completely unnecessary, and he paid the penalty for that. It just wasn't
just
needed.
Carelessness, really. I mean,
he gave him a smack on the corner, which he just needed to keep a nice contact and keep his leg on, and he would have been, like through that line, he would have been completely fine. The horse, he's sorting it out for him, but he didn't have a choice then.
Well, Kipulyansky around that started out so well for him, unfortunately.
It just showed
didn't finish.
Yeah, I mean, he used the stick when he didn't need to on that corner. Just he was probably thinking, right, I need to remind the horse. I know there's been a few problems down there, but he also, if you're going to remind a horse, you've got to make sure you contain the energy you make, and he couldn't quite contain it with his hands and got too long and too fast.
But well inside the time, but unfortunately those 4 knockdowns again.
Expensive.
So just 2 riders to go, and this very talented young Frenchman up next, Valentin Prad.
I mean, his body position is a little forward. You see there, like, if the horse were to back off, he wouldn't be very effective, but the horse is...
Always got a bit lucky there, but perhaps he deserved that after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of it came back around, didn't it?
And an excellent ride.
He'll be very happy with that.
Inside the time, just about 1 knockdown. So... And with Fralov's unpredictability, I could actually well see Prad in first position.
This is really shaping up to look like we're going to have an exciting combine, which is what we want. I mean, the riding, I'm surprised we really haven't seen any refusals. It's been about the poles and the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
which shows that, you know, the horses are of a good quality here today, and the course is, you know, is built nicely, and it's questioning them on the corners and on the related distances just when they're getting a little bit too fast. And but on the whole, we are seeing the better riders come out with the better score, which is what the course designer tries to you know, from the course that they're building, that is their aim, that they're trying to make it a course that will test the riding and the riders rather than the horses.
Up next, Ilya Frolov, the leader after the first two events. He was first in the fencing, 26 victories from his 35. 14th in the swimming, with a time of just under 2 minutes and 2 seconds, but Frolov not the best when it comes to the riding, very hit and miss. I think it was in the mixed event in Palm Springs where really did have a horror show and basically had to withdraw from competition after being in 4 refusals.
It's not started brilliantly for him. He just didn't quite have enough impulsion getting into that first fence, got in too close and was lucky to clear it, really. I mean, a genuine horse, yes, he took the pole, but still over the fence. And maybe that just woke him up a little bit and getting into his rhythm slightly more now.
Oh, it's well cleared.
Yeah, like I
Looking
say,
a lot
it's
more
sort
comfortable.
of, he took a couple of fences to get going, and it's much smoother. I mean, the Russians, the crowd can off-put some horses and some riders. I mean, he'll be trying to block that out, and they've competed in Russia a lot, but you can hear, oh, that's unlucky, he'll know that pole's gone down just from the reaction of the crowd here.
I mean, does that happen sometimes? I mean, you just don't have an idea that a pole's fallen down?
I mean, I definitely have competed some rounds and thought, oh my goodness, how many poles did I take? And, oh, that's unlucky, and I'll turn out it'll only be 1 or 2, because you know when you hit them, but you don't know if they've fallen unless the crowd reacts like they are today.
Just his final fence to go. And he's over. He'll pick up a few time penalties as well, but look at that. I mean, he's picked up over 170 penalty points, and he's only going to be about 20 seconds off the lead. I mean, that says something about how close this competition is.
It is, isn't it? I mean, there's not been anyone that's way out and above, and this is really setting up for a great combine, because there's just so many in the mix, and there's quite a lot who we'll see a lot of movement happening, I'm sure. And the ride, it was basically only poles and quite a few of them, and it was quite evenly spread out. We saw, you know, quite a few having 4 poles down, and if you're seeing that many with that, they're going to still be in the mix, as we just.
Something to look at Adam Morrissey. I mean, he went clear during this round, and he's now in 16th place, just 45 seconds off the lead, and he's very good at the combined.
I mean, for example, I'm obviously biased, but picking out Jamie Cook there, up in 14th. I mean, he was pretty much last after the fencing.
Yeah.
And yes, we know we've got his swim, but you know, he was still only mid-20s after the swim. So to move up almost 10 places in that riding, and it doesn't seem like it's been a really disastrous ride, so it's amazing what those poles and how costly they are now.
But it's great to see some of the lesser known names like Kindris, Petroni, and Tibolia from Hungary up in the top 10.
Up a lot, hasn't he? Yes. That's. I mean, he hasn't really been doing much for a while, but look, it's a really young, you know, top 3 starting, isn't it? Yeah. With Valentin and Joseph Evans.
And Jinhua Zhong as well. Don't forget him, 3rd in Rome at the World Championships. So just confirmation of the top 3. It's Prad, Zhong and Evans. James Cook bringing himself way up the standings. Alexander Lusun going in the opposite direction, unfortunately for him, after a pretty disastrous ride. Morrissey moving back into contention. Kaniakin dropping down the standings after, again, not great riding from a Russian. Something I would have expected would have been better, really, just given the familiarity they'd have had with the course. But the fact they have a chance to chat to the trainers and the horses, but did not ride them.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that knowledge can help you at the last minute, and sometimes knowing the horse and you know, sort of getting all this information from maybe the owners or the instructors, it can almost be too much to digest, and we can practice on the horses over and over again, and sometimes coming to a fresh horse, you just ride it with what you know, you don't think about what you should be doing, you just get on with it, and they are maybe thinking, oh, this horse does that, it likes that, and I need to do this, and trying to take in too much maybe. and yeah, not being able to just relax and ride how they would. But saying that, the Russians have been known to go a little bit fast and have poles, and maybe it's just this year with this change in the way the points are working and you're getting 40 now that it's a lot more costly for them.
Okay, thanks Heather. We'll be back in around 25 minutes for a resumption of today's events following with the combined. So just goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
welcome to Nizhny Novgorod, which is around 450 kilometers east of Moscow, for the World Cup final of the 2013 Modern Pentathlon World Cup Series. Well, we've had events in Palm Springs, the USA, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Chengdu, China, last time out in Budapest, Hungary, and now it's a turn of Nizhny Novgorod. Those for World Cup final events. Well, this event brings together the 36 top male competitors from the 2013 season. Well, yesterday was the turn of the women. The event was won by Victoria Tereshchuk. Now it's the turn of the men. And I'm delighted to be joined by Heather Fell, a former Olympic silver medalist in the modern pentathlon competition from Beijing.
Great to be here and seeing such an exciting competition as it's panning out. I mean, the riding, it didn't look like there was much going on, but it's certainly changed things around, and we've got it all to look forward to in the combined, I think.
Absolutely. Before we come to combined, we'll just wrap up what's gone on before, and we'll start, of course, with the fencing, the first event of the competition. 36 competitors overall. Some big names there: Sergei Karyakin, Alexander Lissun, Adam Marosi.
I mean, this is the biggest competition that we will have seen since the Olympics.
Absolutely. And
obviously, the World Cups, there's been people coming and going, picking and choosing which ones they want to go to, but the athletes are here to get valuable world ranking points, with it being double the amount of points per place here.
Saw James Cook there, what an event he had in Budapest, but we'll come to him a bit later, and we'll start the action with Sergei Karyakin. Has lived in the shadow a bit of Andrei Moiseev and Alexander Lissun. Now really his chance to shine. 11th half of fencing with 19 victories from 35 bouts. How difficult is the fencing? I mean, it's quite an endurance event.
It is, and it's a strange one because it's an endurance in the fact that it takes, 2.5, 3 hours, but it's about explosion and actually, really fine, powerful movements at the time of, within your 1 minute bout. You've got to pick yourself up 35 times for each fight, and there's not one moment that you can have a lapse in concentration. You've got to be on the ball, ready to what's being thrown at you from your opponent.
Well, that man, Alexander Lissun, needs no introduction whatsoever. One of the best modern pentathletes of the modern era, really. I mean, what makes him so good?
Well, I think the fact that Russia generally are so strong, they've all pushed each other on, and just to get in the team each time, it's a massive challenge. And I mean, he has such a strong fence, and he's always up there after the fencing, and then the rest of the field are left chasing him.
And it is Tchaikovsky's 5th after fencing. Really good result for the Latvian, 21 victories from his 35. Great to see him back on the big stage.
He's
one of the veterans, really, of this.
He's one
event.
who's just never given up. He's always. He's just been around. He's associated with. When I started pentathlon, Dennis was on the circuit, and he seems to just keep going. And great to see him actually on the podium this year, because he hasn't been up there for a while.
Well, from the veterans to the youth, Valentin Prad of France, just 20 years of age. Great result for him. The junior world #1, 25 victories. 10 defeats was not good enough for second place for him after fencing. What emerging talent.
Brilliant. And I mean, the French are known as, a fencing nation, and obviously these guys are gaining the experience from the French fencers, and really making the most of these skills that they've got.
Well, it was Dmitry Kipolyansky from Ukraine. Ukraine have had a superb World Cup series, especially in the women's events, with Zhana Buryak winning 2 events, Victoria Tereshchuk also winning 2, Pavel Timoshenko winning in Chengdu. What's been the success of the Ukrainians? I mean, it's come out of nowhere, really.
I mean, for the women, Tereshchuk has obviously been on the scene for a long time, whereas Buryak is more when he's up and coming, and I'm not quite sure of their training setup, but they're doing something right, and they're ones that are consistent, and they're going to have a really strong mixed relay.
Ilya Frolov, he won the fencing with very impressive 26 victories from his 35. Perhaps slightly inconsistent. I mean, he's been again in the shadow of Moiseev and Lissun, but really now his chance to shine. Good results this season: 4th in Palm Springs, 8th in Rio, and 8th in Budapest was good enough for him.
Yeah, they're kind of frustrating results, aren't they? It's top 10, but no one's remembering him. He's not quite on the podium.
is the first. I think we have a great combate at home in Russia, and I can't speak about the pronostic before riding, because riding are very selective this year.
Just a recap of the fencing results. Frolov out in front, Prad continuing his excellent form. Third in Rio de Janeiro, fourth in Budapest. Looking certainly for a podium finish here in Nizhny Novgorod. Slightly disappointed to see David Svoboda, the Olympic champion, way down in 19th. James Cook, well, 24th place.
I mean, we were all hoping after his, a wonderful performance in Budapest that maybe that would have helped his confidence, and we'll see his fencing moving up, but not yet.
Well, after the swimming ball, just incidentally as well, Adam Marosi well down in the standings, and we can pick up the action with the second heat, featuring Alexander Lissun and Denis Tchaikovskis. Lissun are very good all-round athletes.
And the Russians are generally, and that's why we see them, that's why they are so consistently up there. It's unusual if we're not seeing a Russian on the podium, really.
I mean, Lissun's form has dipped slightly this season. I mean, he had a great start in Palm Springs where you were competing yourself, first place there, but 27th in Rio de Janeiro. For someone of his quality, world #1. I
don't know what happened there, but that's very unusual to see them quite so far down the field. I'm presuming it would have been the ride.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a problem there.
Quite a few problems on the riding, yeah.
I mean, that's their weaker event, and that's the event that can make or break them at the moment.
A good result there for Lissun. Just under 2 minutes, easily won his heat, which was good enough for 7th place overall. And shortly pick up the action from the 4th of the 6 heats, featuring Ilya Frolov and Dmitry Kirpoliansky of Ukraine. Lithuanian athlete to look out for, Justinas Kinderis as well. Lithuania's such a small nation. They've got a very, very good history in modern pentathlon.
And they really have, haven't they? And it's been one or two athletes that have been real stars, especially with the women, I'm thinking there.
But it was a good result for Frolov, swimming not his greatest event, but managed to come home in 14th place overall in the swimming. Time of just under 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Heat was won by Woo Jin Lee, who was the only man to break the 2-minute barrier. Certainly good results as well for Kirpoliansky and Kinderis, keeping them well in contention as well. So we can now move to the final heat, the quickest heats of them all, where James Cook was going to battle it out with Amro Elgeresi.
Yeah, these two have a brilliant kind of competitive relationship, I suppose, in the pool, and it's really always hard to call before the event. You don't know who's going to have it, and actually Jamie was just pipped in Palm Springs at the beginning of the season, but they've been, it's a hard one to call, and they really, the race is between these two, and it's great to watch.
But how surprised were you? I mean, I know you obviously follow Jamie a lot, but how surprised were you by the margin of victory in Budapest? I mean, that was just an absolutely stunning result. It was,
I mean, Jamie works so hard, and he's been like a potential for so long, and it's absolutely great to see at last that potential coming a medal, but not just a medal, actually on top of the podium. And it would have done a huge amount for his confidence and really given him, he'll go back and training and be really refreshed and even more hungry to go forwards with it.
Oh, Adam Marosi with a good swim as well, moving him up the standings after a very disappointing fence for him. Karyakin also keeping himself well in contention.
Is it possible to repeat your performance from Hungary?
No, I don't think so. I think in Hungary I was very lucky that the winner of the fence was only 920 or something. So no, it's a little bit annoying because I was hoping to do well, but that's fencing.
Thank you so much for that.
So just confirmation of the results. Very interestingly, the competitors, the top four, remain in exactly the same position that they were in after fencing. So Frolov still in first place after swimming, followed by Prad, Kirpoliansky and Lissun. James Cook moving himself up the standings. After a good swim, as always. And we can pick up the action with the riding. With Joseph Evans.
Oh, what a season, like, I mean, he has burst onto the scene, hasn't he? This first World Cup, his first World Cup, his first senior appearance to get on the podium, and what a way to start. And this year, I mean, he's got no pressure on his shoulders. Yes, people might say he's not been hugely consistent, but he's been making finals in the, you know, strong men's fields, and today he's up there again, starting the ride in 7th place. So I think and his first ever World Cup final, this is a pretty good start.
Yeah, but what has been the secret? I mean, they've got so many good British athletes coming through at the moment. I mean, obviously you'll know better than anyone really what the secret's been.
The men in Britain have had a real struggle, and it's been quite frustrating for the coaches and for maybe some of the other athletes. That the team has been quite, you know, weak, and then we've had a lot of younger ones who have been very young, and at last those very young athletes who come up through the youth A's and through the juniors are at last coming of age and reaching the senior circuit. And it wasn't until this year we weren't really sort of sure how they would fare, and they're proving, you know, mentally tougher and ready, you know, more than we maybe expected.
It's turning into a really good ride from Evans, over 3/4 way through the course.
A lovely ride to watch, and you know, the British are known for, you know, coming from a riding background quite often, and Joe is, you know, really making any Brit proud of his riding right now.
Just one fence to go, and he's gone clear. Excellent ride by Joe Evans. Great time as well. No time penalties, no knockdowns. A well-deserved 1,200 points. And
that just proves, you know, he was comfortably inside the time, but it didn't look rushed. He kept the rhythm the whole way. There was no hanging around on the corners, but there was no point where it looked like, gosh, he was going too fast. Hence, you know, the horse had plenty of time to pick his feet up and give him that lovely round.
Just clipped that railing, but managed to stay on, luckily for him.
Yeah. I mean, there is a little bit of luck, as we mentioned earlier, and you often hear those poles. You know you've touched it, and you're not sure if it's gone or not until you finish and see the score. So he will have been. Oh, there's Fritzy. He's obviously very happy with that result, and you know, Fritzy, one of our
trainers.
He's a fencing coach mainly, but looking after the boys out here today.
Okay, well, we now move on to Amro El Gharesi from Egypt. Very good swimmer, as we saw, won the swimming, good half-decent fencer as well. But unfortunately, it's always the combined that seems to let him down, so really imperative that he has a good ride today.
It is. I mean, he's not going to be one of those that will be looking to move up in the combined. So he's hoping to maintain or move up any places he can now to be in chance of being in the mix. And it must be very frustrating for him, because he is such a solid athlete, other than the shooting. And I'm sure, you know, he must spend a lot of time working on it, and has still yet to click with this no longer new format. But obviously he would have, you know, competed in the old format when it was purely the shooting separate to the running, which maybe favoured him slightly more.
Well, one knockdown already, which really can't afford any more, given that his combined isn't the greatest, but looking comfortable enough after that early setback.
Yeah, and that riding isn't, you know, something that he particularly struggles on, and he's having a tidy round. And the horse looks, you know, quite keen and strong, but he's holding him together nicely. And that was a perfect demonstration of it there. The horse, if he'd let him go, if he had his reins too long, he would have got longer through that related distance and would have, you know, undoubtedly had a couple of poles, but kept it very tidy.
Coming into his free jump section, clears it with ease, looks really confident.
Yeah, he's riding really nicely.
So this difficult fence number 11. It's gonna suffer time-wise a bit.
Is that bang on the time?
Just one over. One over, yeah. So one knockdown and I think 4 seconds. 1 second in time penalties. So two, yeah. But nevertheless, good solid ride.
You can see he's pretty happy.
Yeah. Big smile on the face.
Rightly so.
Oh, the next man up is Jinhwa Jung of South Korea, and just like the French we were saying earlier, the South Koreans also coming up with a number of athletes who have been very strong in this World Cup season.
Again, yes, it's last year that they seem to appear onto the scene, quite strongly, and they've kept that going through to 2013 as well.
So in Jinhua Jung, I mean, he managed 11th place at the London Olympics, 3rd of the World Championships in Rome. I don't think anyone could have predicted such an event, given the strength. Really,
I know, that World Championships is the strongest World Championships of every 4 years, so that's a result to be noted.
Oh, he's done well throughout the season, been there or thereabouts. See how he gets on now.
I mean, this riding course, it's fairly decent height compared to some courses we've seen this year, and I think the test is coming on the corners. Being in a fairly small arena, there's quite a few tight turns, and it's those riders who use their corners to collect their horse and get a nice straight line that are seeing the clears, and those who maybe slightly motorbike around the corners and get a little bit too fast are seeing the odd pole being knocked down here and there.
It's a really good round so far by Jung.
Yeah, he's making it look easy, and that's what it's all about with the riding.
He's done really well, I think, over this World Cup series on the riding. Riding has been one of his better events. He has actually been let down, I think, on the combined. I mean, I think it was in Chengdu where he was in 1st or 2nd place going into the combined, but really slipped down badly. So, again, really imperative for him that he gets a good ride going into this combined, which I don't think is his best result.
Yeah, well, so far he's putting himself in a good position.
Oh, more than that. I mean, that's an excellent rise inside the time. And Jinhua Jung underlining his reputation as one of the most up-and-coming modern pentathletes in the men's event with a clear round, which has put him well in contention going into the combined with just 4 more riders to go. And given that 2 of them are Russians, who don't tend to do well on the riding.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're on home ground and potentially home horses, whether they will have practiced on these horses before or not. I mean, sometimes that can not always be the advantage you might think. It can end up with people maybe overthinking, gosh, I know this horse, I've ridden it enough times before, I should know what I'm doing, and be starting to think about how it is in training. And horses can differ a lot from training to competition.
Absolutely.
As well.
I mean, we saw in Budapest last time out in the 4th leg of the World Cup event. The home players like Marusi, Ganeshi, they all went clear. And they looked so comfortable in their riding. We saw certainly in the women's event yesterday with Gubaidulina, she went clear. Kuraskina almost went clear.
And that's good for her, because riding is, something she struggles with.
Yeah, well, this is something this guy struggles with as well, Alexander Lissun. Well, he's world #1, one of the best modern pentathletes, as we're saying, at modern time, but hasn't had the best of seasons. He started off really well in Palm Springs, winning it. 27th place in Rio, which we were just talking about, and 7th in Chengdu. I mean, you'd be expecting him to be top 5 in every single event.
He would. I mean, he has such a strong fence, and once you're up there with that strong fence, even if he drops a little bit down to the riding, he has the strong combine to bring him back up.
But the swim as well. I mean, he's a good swimmer.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he is, as you say, the all-round athlete, but the riding can be costly if you get it wrong. And
it's not looking comfortable at the moment.
No, I mean, this is only very early on, and he's sort of going through the fences as opposed to over them at the moment.
I mean, psychologically, how difficult is it once you've knocked down a couple of early fences to try and get yourself back on board?
It is difficult because, you know that there's nothing you can do about those, but you've got to try and just, learn from them, because the whole time you're learning about the horse. You've only had your 20 minutes to practice in the warm-up, and the horse can be very different in the competition arena. So you're kind of learning how the horse is reacting to you, how it's reacting to the arena, and hopefully any mistakes you've made early on, you'll then be able to correct them as you go. And
it's probably a round to forget at the moment. I mean, he's picked up 4 knockdowns, we'll make that 5. Yeah. And look him tumble down the table. He's below Jamie Cook, who after that fence.
Good for us Brits, yep. But the home crowd won't be so happy.
No, well, his last fence to negotiate somehow managed to get over it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the last fence was the real, just, that summed up his round. It wasn't a pretty round, it wasn't, relaxed riding. He was fighting with the horse and not allowing it to relax and curve over the fences, hence why it was taking the poles with him.
Do you think it was more rider error or horse error? Or bit of
I mean,
both?
it's always hard to know unless you're riding the horse, but he's very sort of knowing his style of riding and the way that this course is being ridden. It's if you are too fast and too long, which he was, the poles come flying down. And look at that line. I mean, he's completely
Absolutely, yeah.
you know, not a straight line, not a good
Zigzagging
corner.
almost, really.
Yeah, and it's about the approach to the first part of that line.
It's absolutely. I mean, we saw it with Joseph Evans. I mean, the way he looks so relaxed, Joseph Evans. He wasn't rushing. He was inside the time.
And it was one of those that he was not actually that much slower than you know, that round. And that just proves that it's not about, it's just about making, you know, being efficient and just keeping the same rhythm the whole way.
Right, well, we're into the top three now. Dmitry Kapulyansky. Bit of a surprise to see him up there. Never really sort of want to battle it out for the podium positions going into the combine, but certainly in a great position at the moment. He was, well, we all know he's a very good fencer, and he proved that with 23 wins from his 35 bouts. Decent swim as well, just a shade over 2 minutes, and doesn't look that confident, but he's doing the job.
I mean, this is quite a little horse, I suppose. I mean, he's obviously got long legs, so it makes it look smaller, but it's quite a quick striding, and it can almost be deceiving. Look like he's really fast and going to get in trouble, but because the horse has got quite short strides, he should that smack wasn't needed. I mean, you can see this horse is really forward going, and he paid for that. All 3 poles, and you know, that was rider error.
No, and he's absolutely paid for that. I mean, he was going so well during this ride.
Yeah, he just gave it a smack on the corner that really wasn't needed, got in too close, and then if you're wrong for the first part of a related distance, it's very difficult to correct it once you've got in.
Oh, so 4 knockdowns for Kapulyansky. 1,040 points for him. Sees him tumble down the standings. So just 2 athletes to go. A precocious Valentin Prad next on the course. Just 20 years of age. Fine fence. 2nd overall with 25 victories. Well, swimming not his strongest discipline.
But I think that's something that, you know, he is so young. He's got a lot of time to work on the swim, and I'm pretty sure we'll see that drop quite considerably as he gets stronger. I mean, you know, that age, he's really still, you know, coming into developing, and we're seeing him getting physically stronger each season.
I think the majority of modern pentathletes do come from either a fencing background or a swimming background, I think, in the main.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, the fencing, as we've seen, is really quite a vital part in the...
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you remember back to the Olympics, I think that was the main reason why Lesun, he was so down in the rankings, was basically because he had one of his worst fences ever, and just at completely the wrong time, and he just left himself with far too much to do in the riding and the combined. But anyway, we'll see how Prads get on. A great position. Just Frolov to go, who, like Lesun, isn't the greatest of the riders around.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's having a nice, again, a smooth round, and this is what it's about here. There's quite a few tight turns, but it's about making them flowing, so you're not wasting time by slowing up and then having to go forwards again, but using the corners.
Looking confident, absolutely.
Yeah, and he's using the corners, riding them well. He is a little bit perched forwards, but it's effective at the moment. The horse is a genuine horse. He's not looking at you know, backing off any of the fences, and
good line into the fence, or just unlucky perhaps with that knockdown.
yeah, it didn't look. I couldn't really tell why that pole went. Maybe the horse was just a little bit lazy with his back feet there.
Good line into the fence in this free jump section.
And maybe a slightly lucky one there.
Yes.
We heard that pole get touched, but maybe
He deserved that bit of luck.
Yeah, I think it goes around, comes around after the. Oh, even more luck now.
So he's over and inside the time in an excellent round from Valentin Prad. Keeps it very much in contention. Just that 1 knockdown. And, well, he's had a great season. 3rd in Rio, 4th in Budapest, just 20 years of age. And could he finish this World Cup season with the best possible results? And a 1st place finish? Well, he's certainly in contention for that, and he could probably actually even go into the combined in 1st place. So as we were saying, Ilya Frolov, very good modern pentathlete. but riding not his best discipline.
Well, we'll see. I mean, home crowd, whether that'll help. But often in the riding, that can add a little bit more pressure. I mean, we'll probably hear the excitement, and every fence is clear, there gets a bit of a cheer, and you get a boo when there's a fence goes down. But he'll be trying to shut that out and focus on keeping a smooth round. And hopefully, for the Russians, they are known for maybe going a little bit fast, and on a course like this, you can't get away with that. So
well, yeah, I mean, I just remember Frolov in Palm Springs in the mixed events. He had an absolute nightmare in the riding. I mean, he was forced to withdraw because, I mean, he had 4 refusals during his round, and it's just so hit and miss for him, the riding, unfortunately. And
well, there's a miss for you. Yeah, I mean, that was just not a good approach. He wasn't riding that strongly into the first fence, and just went through it as opposed to over it.
And that first fence is so important. It really sets the tone for a rider.
And there we go again. He was lucky on that fence. It was completely wrong, but the horse sorted it for him. When I say wrong, he was just met it on a wrong stride, and the horse had to adapt accordingly.
He's getting very little height over the jumps. It's not. That was better.
I mean, in show jumping, the horses are taught to be efficient and just skim over it because it's quicker, they're less time in the air, but it's that fine line of
exactly
clearing the fence, but not wasting time.
Just clips me.
Just taken out with his front leg there.
So this free jump section coming up for Frolov. 2 knockdowns again, proving costly for the Russian. That's 4 in all. Coming up to his
slightly lucky
fence.
one again there.
Just about gets over it. So big up some time penalties. So Frolov dropping down the standings, but well, we're still going to have those deductions for the time penalties. But well, 20 seconds off Prad. I mean, given that he had a round of just 1,028 to stay so close in contention.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to make for very exciting combines, which is what we all want to see.
Yeah. So, just to recap the standings. We've got Valentin Prad in front in first place, Jinhua Jung of Korea in second, and Joseph Evans in third. Just what a season the Brits are having, and what an event Joseph Evans is having.
It really is, and I mean, this will, well, for any athlete, this is going to really help their world rankings, and it's going to put Joe on the map if he can, have a consistent combined, which is something that word, he is consistent in it. He's still a youngster, and his running's improving a lot, but he doesn't seem to get phased by things, and I mean, this is now his first season as a senior, but he's actually competed in quite a few World Cups, and he just gets on with it. And that's something that, as a pentathlete, when it goes up and down, you just got to keep level-headed and plough on through. And Joe is really demonstrating that this season.
But if you're thinking of the top 12, I mean, you wouldn't have picked that many names out to be in that top 12. The likes of Maurossi, the likes of Jamie Cook, who was so good in Hungary, Lissoun. They're all not there. These are sort of people you'd have been thinking.
It is quite a mixed top 10, isn't it? And whether it'll stay that top 10 or not. And this is the strongest competition of 2013, seeing there's been a lot of the World Cups when some athletes will have picked and chosen which ones they wanted to go to, and maybe not wanted to do all 4, having a slightly quieter year after the Olympics. So, but this is sort of the first real test to see who's on form and who's out there and going to be maybe in the mix for the World Championships later in the season.
I mean, if you just go down, I mean, really, I think anything up to a minute, if things go your way, is retainable going into the combined. You've got Karyakin down there in 19th place, who still is within a minute of the leading group. So, really, I mean, this is probably one of the most open combines, I think, in recent memory. I mean, there are so many different permutations that can happen.
It really is open, and especially like this season now with 4 shoots, it makes room for even more movement. That extra bit of concentration that is needed than compared to last year when it was the 3 shoots and 1 kilometre of running each time. We've now got, yes, a little bit further of running, but it's the
4 shoots.
It's the shooting that makes all the difference.
Certainly yesterday in the women's event, I mean, we saw a lot of the girls having a lot of trouble on the shooting range. I mean, in Hungary, for instance, I mean, we're seeing Jamie Cook having shooting away in 8.2 seconds, which is just phenomenal. And the girls as well. I mean, Tereshchuk was shooting very quickly. Buriak was shooting very quickly in Budapest. Yesterday, I mean, it was completely the opposite. I mean, you were seeing Tereshchuk, Buriak, Horaskina taking something like 30 seconds.
It's really quite, surprising how it can, because on the whole, the shooting is something that, being a relatively new addition this format, that we're seeing constant improvement. It's getting faster and faster. So it's very unusual for it to see a step backwards. And it'll be interesting to see if the men have the same problem that the women did yesterday.
We also saw yesterday, I mean, Laura Asutaskaite, the reigning Olympic champion, I mean, how she was not even on the leaderboard. She wasn't even in the top 8 after the final shoot. But she is so quick over flat. She managed to actually finish in 4th place, which is just, even after the final shoot, things can change if you are incredibly quick over flat. And there are some very good athletes out here who are very, very quick runners.
There are, and especially, I mean, the last run, obviously, they've not got to think about the shooting. They're not whole.
I know you rented your socks from Olympic champions David Svoboda. You did it for the luck. Can you show that? Yes, I have forgot my socks. And I have a David Svoboda socks. I hope it's a good thing. It's a sign for me. And I hope I have the same gift. Can you show one more time? Can you show one more time? It's Olympic champion socks from David Svoboda.
So, interesting interview from Valentin Prad, who was talking about the fact that he's exchanged socks with David Svoboda. And, obviously hoping for the same results that Svoboda got at the Olympics. Well, that result, I think, was unexpected when Svoboda won the Olympic gold medal. I think it'd be equally unexpected if Prad manages to win here, but such is his talents.
I mean, as we were saying earlier, it's a very young lineup at the top, and it'll be interesting to see if those more experienced athletes can use their their experience from the past to climb back on these young ones, or if it is time for the young generation to really come through and start to take the lead here.
Prad away, followed by Young almost immediately. Joe Evans also joining them, so the leading group making their way to the shooting line. Getting away, good stars so far from Prad. This is taking a really good shoot from a Frenchman. Unfortunately, missing match of Young's catching it up, and Prad away in just under 15 seconds. Young joining him, so the two are neck and neck. Evans having a few problems on the shooting range. Frolov just needs one. Frolov, great result.
Oh, look at that, gosh.
11 seconds.
Straight back in the mix, isn't he? That ride, we thought for a moment he had a bit of work to do, but he's shown that after one shoot, and he's got 3 more to go.
Absolutely, I mean, he's made up 4 seconds already on that shoot. Lissoun and Marosi also on the range, and Lissoun, look at him. 9 seconds for Alexander Lissoun.
The Russians are showing, why they are dominating in our sport at the moment.
But Cook away as well. I mean, he wasn't able to repeat the 8.2 that we saw in Budapest, but
he's climbing up, and still 3 more shoots to go. So if he gets back on that form, we could see him moving up through the ranks.
I'm sure there'll be quite a few nerves amongst Prad.
Yeah, I mean, setting off in first, there's only one way you can go, and you know that, and you know that everyone is chasing you, so it's a very, tense position to be in, and running isn't yet his strongest event. It's something that he'll be working on as he's maturing in the sport, so yeah, he's definitely would have been pretty nervous on that start line, I think.
I mean, you must have been in this position. I mean, you've been out in front, and you've got the likes of, say, I don't know, Asutaskaite or Tereshchuk behind you, who are brilliant at the combined, and you've got a sort of 10-15 second lead. How are you feeling psychologically when you know they're going to catch you no matter what?
It's really difficult, and you know that they're amazing on the flat, but sometimes their shooting can be up and down, so that means that your advantage is the shoot, so you've got to come into that shoot and completely forget about where they might be or what they might be doing and focus on that, and then all you can do is run your hardest. And these boys, that's the key today. You know, after a long day of being able to concentrate still, it's not just the physical side, but it's the mental side, which is just as exhausting.
Oh, just going back to the action, Prad out in front. He's opened up a gap of around 5 seconds now of Jinhua. Jung, Frolov trying to close the gap even further, but he's in a battle for third place with Kindris of Lithuania. Evans falling down the field slightly after that pretty poor first shoot as Prads comes into the shoot for the second time. Just slowing down as he comes into the shoot, trying to lower his heart rate.
This is a really nice rhythm we're seeing here, and that's what it's about, just, you know, doing what you've practiced so many times in training.
10 seconds. Well, the Frenchman showing absolutely no nerves whatsoever, getting away in 10 seconds, and now further opened his gap over Jung. So Frolov and Kindris neck and neck really for third position. And we're going neck and neck on the shoot. Frolov misses, Kindris shoots. And Kindris is away. Frolov away in 20 seconds.
Joe just had a good shoot. Joe Evans
yeah.
from Great Britain. We've just seen him climbing back up a few places. And
Lissoon again. Lissoon.
Yeah, he's
under 10 seconds again.
He's going to be soon, surely taking on the leaders, isn't he, with his strong running as well.
And Marussia as well, moving up the standings.
Yeah, he's one we would expect to work his way up through the field.
So, Prads in the lead, opened up a gap of 7 seconds now over Jung. Kindris in third. So, 20 seconds back of the lead, and he's opening up the gap for the bronze medal on Ilya Frolov, who's dropped down the standings after that poor shoot. And now Frolov and Evans in a battle for fourth place. That's the man out in front. Valentin Prad of France.
He's just really showing, you know, beyond his years with the way he's been shooting so far. He's just got that rhythm. You can tell that in that rhythm there's no time for him to do any thinking. He's not worrying about these experienced Russians who the home crowd will be cheering on and you know, expecting them to climb their way up. But yes, he's set off in front, but in a sense there is no pressure from, you know, the home crowd or anything like that, and he's just got to focus on his event solely, and that's what he's demonstrating perfectly.
And he's opened up the gap even further on Jung to now 11 seconds. So the Frenchman, really, it's all in his hands. All he has to do is keep calm and doing the same things that he's been doing.
And it's so easy for us to sit here and say that. And I mean, the shooting, it can, with these 4 shoots, you can see when you look at the results afterwards, that people will have had 3 amazing shoots and then suddenly 1 when you have 30 or 40 seconds. And I'm not, you know, saying that's going to happen, but it isn't just because you've shot well the first 2, you've still got to keep that concentration. You can't think for a moment that, oh, this is quite easy, this is going well. You don't have time for that.
Absolutely, it's not really over until the final shoot.
It's really not, and then, you know, we can still see a real race on for that, but it all depends on where the runners are after that last shoot.
So here comes Prads into the shooting range for the penultimate time. Second shoot was sensational.
He's got that rhythm again.
Yep.
Just look at that. And when it happens like that, it is just so easy. I mean,
that's
wow, he's getting quicker each time.
I thought it was almost a new record, but it's, again, under 10 seconds. He's just not giving his opponents a chance. I mean, really, his competitors, the likes of Jung, the likes of Kindris and Frolov,
Jung is only a couple of seconds behind, but he's not making anything up on the run. And Frolov, you know, he is climbing up there, isn't he? But I thought he'd make a bit more up on the running than he is. And
Marussia, look at him. 10 seconds.
Wow. And he's running well this year, so we're going to see him closing that gap on this next 800 metres.
Still 1 more shoot to go, so at around 1,500 metres for the racers to run. So still plenty can happen, but it's looking very good at the moment for Valentin Prads, who's well out in front. 14 seconds the lead. over Jinhua Jung. Real battle again going on for third place between Ilya Frolov and Justinas Kinderis of Lithuania. Marosi getting himself back into contention. Joe Evans, unfortunately, slipping down the standings after that poor shoot from the Brits.
You can really hear the home crowd getting behind Frolov.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's a great help on the run, and as long as he uses it to his advantage and shuts it out on the shooting, and then can work on the strong run that he has.
But him and Kinderis really in a big battle. I mean, how much will the competitors be looking to relax going into that final shoot? When will they start to sort of just relax a little bit?
It's you know, it is switching on and switching off, because you're out on the run and you've got to kind of analyse the shoot you've done to know if you've got to change anything, and then really focus on the run. And as you come back in, it's switching your mind back purely to that shoot. On the run, you might have even started to think about, oh, you know, where I could be and where other people are. And as you sort of come around the corner into the range, you'll see them like drop their arms down, relax their shoulders, and just focus on a different task, because it's completely different to running.
Oh, just back to the action, and Pentathlon now opening up the gap to 17 seconds. Jung has dropped way down the standings. Kinderis now in second place with Frolov. So the two of those battling it out for second, and Marosi has gone way up the standings. He's now just 7 seconds or so off second place.
I mean, look at that. He had a fence, came 31st in the fencing, was in 16th at the beginning of this combined, and he's really shown that the day is not over after the fence.
Let's bring up for a second for the final shoot for Prads.
Look at that, amazing.
Absolutely,
wow.
I mean, that's 3 shoots in a row, but it's been around 10 seconds or under.
Yeah.
I mean, he just hasn't given his competitors a chance. Well, this is going to be the interesting thing now for second place. Marosi away in 10 seconds. Frolov and Kinder is still at the range, so Marosi moves into second, and given he is so good on the flats, it's going to be very difficult for
Frolov is
Kinderis.
having a nightmare on this final shoot. Still on the range, 26 seconds. He's just made a lot of work for himself.
Yeah. Well, I think Marosi's going to have too much to do to try and catch Prads.
Really... Look at that, Jamie Cook is just out, 12 seconds. He's overtaken Joe Evans. It's a great move up the field from after an incredibly poor fence at the start of the day.
Well, Blago Dimitrov making up the top 8. It's been passed by Evans. But Vincent Valentin Prads pretty much knows that he is going to come home in first place.
Well, he's celebrating as though he knows. So, I mean, this is the great thing. Once you've done that final shoot, you know where the finish line is, and there's not much that can change. When you've got a lead like that, what a great position. And for someone so young to be in a World Cup final, such a strong field here today.
But I mean, Marosi started the combined in 16th place. 16th place, I think.
He was, after a terrible fence, he was 45 seconds behind the lead.
And he's now in second place. I mean, that has been sensational. And it's so unusual for Marosi to have such a bad fence. Hungarians are such good fences. He's such a solid event for him. But actually, he's been caught by Kinderis, I think. Difficult to see.
It really is a fight on the podium. We've got, obviously, the first place is well and truly decided, but it's all for the coloured medals, second and third.
Trying to get a shot with Ilya Frolov. We're going back to Pradas, but it's coming up to cross the line. And a richly deserved victory for Valentin Prads, a name you'll be hearing a lot more about in the near future.
But look at this, Marosi couldn't quite hold on.
And Kinderis coming home in second. What a valiant attempt by Adam Marosi. Ending what's been an excellent season for him, but the news really was all about Valentin Prads. He was third in Rio de Janeiro, fourth in Budapest, but he's recorded by far the biggest victory ever of his career by winning the World Cup final here in Nizhny Novgorod. Ilya Frolov let down on that final shoot, crosses the line in 4th place. Another 4th place finish for Ilya Frolov. as he recorded in Palm Springs in the very first World Cup event of the year.
I mean, this combine has really just shown what can change. I mean, look at that. You've seen.
You should
we had
without
Morosi.
any misses. What's your secret?
Relax. I'm relaxed. I don't have pressure. I'm junior. If I win, that's cool. If I second, that's cool. If I third, that's cool. Okay.
Do you feel that this senior level is the other level for you, or it's similar with the junior?
It's better in senior, but I prefer in junior because I'm first at ranking, world ranking. I'm a pressure. I am a pressure, and people won't kill me. And in senior, I'm younger, and it's bonus.
But your victory means that the new generation coming to the modern pentathlon, yeah?
I'm coming with a French team, new generation French team. I hope we have medal in international championships this year.
Okay, thank you so much. Congratulations. Yeah.
An excellent results by a very, very talented individual, Valentin Prats. And it's great to see just over the last couple of events. I mean, we had Jamie Cook setting a new, I think, well, it's been unconfirmed, but potentially a new world record in the World Cup event. Valentin Prats winning here. Are we seeing a changing of the guard, do you think?
This is the year for the change to happen, and you will have seen after the Olympics, a few athletes might have retired. Some athletes might kind of carry on going for a year to, you know, after last year being such a pressure, they might come out this year to enjoy it. So they might be, you know, not quite on form, and it's the real time for the youngsters to come onto the scene, find out what it's about, and as we heard there, they have no pressure and they're really, you know, making their mark.
Just a quick words about Justin Iskinderis again. Great result by the Lithuanian. He came into the combined in 5th place. He's had a really good day in pretty much all the disciplines, but certainly the best results, certainly of his senior career. I mean, had a great result in London, coming in 8th, but that'll give him a whole lot of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, today it's been a consistent result for him, hasn't it? I mean, the riding, just the one pole down, a 900 fence, which put him right in the mix for 5th after that, and the swim, nothing to shout about, but it kept him up there. So, you know, coming back with such a strong run like that at the end, and
holding off Adam Morosi, which is no easy thing
exactly.
to do.
I think Adam had worked very hard early on, and we'd seen him move right up through the field, and maybe he just didn't have that little bit needed at the finish line.
Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage from the men's events of the World Cup final, men's World Cup final from Nizhny Novgorod. Well, from me, Richard Van Poortvliet.
And myself, Heather Fell.
Well, goodbye for now.
Goodbye.